Our bodies come in different shapes and sizes, so doesn't it make sense that our weight loss plan should too? Noom builds a personal plan that factors in dietary restrictions, medical issues, and other personal needs so your plan works for you. One of the things I love about Noom is that it doesn't feel restrictive. Instead of focusing on what you can't eat, it helps you develop a healthier relationship with food. You can still enjoy your favorite treats in moderation, which makes it a sustainable approach that I can actually stick to. If you're looking for a personalized weight loss program that actually works, I highly recommend giving Noom a try. It's a program that's helped me achieve my goals and feel better than ever. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com. Go check out Noom today.
Woman of the Hour is the stranger-than-fiction story of an aspiring actress in 1970s Los Angeles whose life intersects with a serial killer in the midst of a years-long murder spree when she's cast on an episode of The Dating Game, based on a true story and directed by Academy Award nominee Anna Kendrick. Watch Woman of the Hour, now playing only on Netflix, rated R.
Okay, so we're back with Laura Brand, serial killer whisperer, criminologist, and we're continuing our saga of David Gargiulo, right? Is that who we're listening to
No,
today?
we're just on the phone with a serial killer, David, but this is Michael Gargiulo.
Michael Gargiulo. What did I just say?
David.
I said David. Oh, I'm sorry.
We were just on the phone with.
Exactly. Right before we were on, David Rademacher was on the phone when you kind of cued in there. Yeah, so Michael Gargiulo again. So sorry about that.
I know, there's so many.
It's incredible. Incredible. So you sent me quite a few recordings this time. Yeah. So what do we have 4?
More. I think
Is
it's
it
5 total.
5?
Probably won't make it through all of them, but
Okay.
1 and 2 are the big ones, I would say. Yeah.
So before we get going, I mean, how's your Damon? How many serial killers did you talk to today? Who'd you talk to?
Oh God, how many? Upwards of 5 at this point. Yeah. Right now, Wayne Adam Ford got transferred to CMC, so he's actually with Ashton Kutcher's friend,
Danny Masterson.
Right now. He's acclimating well, actually. Surprising, because I was worried about Ford acclimating, but he's doing great.
Yeah. Why were you worried about him? Because he doesn't seem like he's a very social person.
He's not a social person at all. Like, he got kicked out of Norseg at San Quentin for kicking somebody. Yeah, he has explosive personality disorder, so he does not get along well with others. Yeah, he's just not a social person, but he's doing well. He found a friend so far there, and I'm really surprised because he said he was going to kill himself before he ever left San Quentin's death row. He was like, "I'll kill myself before I leave." So I'm
well, CMC must be much better than the death row.
I know, but none of these guys wanted to leave. Like, this was their home for
they get institutionalized.
Exactly. But he's doing well. And actually, a sleeper cell is the last one standing. This is one I thought would be the first one out, which is Marlowe. Marlowe is my last guy at San Quentin.
San Quentin. Where is he? Does he know where he's going?
He's going to CMC too.
He's going to CMC too. Okay. Yeah. All right. At least they're clustering them together.
Yeah.
Marlowe's a very interesting guy.
Very interesting. Yeah.
At all. He was very, I can't remember. We had him on a while ago. It was just.
I still want to have an expert on about, the shock therapy, because there's a couple death row inmates that do swear by it, and it's something I'd love to look further into.
Yeah, because Marlowe gets that, right?
That's what he got.
How often does he get them?
Well, I think it was just once, and it completely rewired his brain. And so the other death row inmates I've also spoken to said the same thing. It's just completely rewired their brain and their way of thinking. And
Mm-hmm.
It's just been a complete change for them. So it's something I do want to look into and talk to some experts about.
Yeah. Well, haven't they been doing that for a while?
You would think so, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I call it the prom date syndrome. You think, because the pretty girl is asked out by everybody, but really she's not asked out by anybody. So kind of the psychological test that everybody thinks we're doing, we actually haven't done yet. So it's kind of like the prom date syndrome, I call it. So a lot
Yeah.
of the things that people think that we've already tested for, we actually haven't tested for. And yeah, that is something we haven't really gone into, testing killers. There's a lot of legalities going into prisons and testing these guys. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of tests that have not been done yet. We're still like in our infancy, truly.
Wow.
hmm
Okay. So which one do you want me to play first?
Tape 1.
Tape 1. Okay, that
I'll
makes
start
sense.
tape 1. So this is actually the prosecutor, part of his opening statement for Gargiulo.
Mm-hmm.
Lead into a tape I have with Gargiulo for tape 2.
Okay. Say that again, because I think the tape started right before you.
So tape 1 is the opening statement that the prosecutor gave at Gargiulo's trial.
Mm-hmm.
And tape 1 is going to lead into tape 2. And the reason I kind of wanted to play these opening statements is I've been getting messages about people thinking that Ashton Kutcher is responsible, with Ashton Kutcher being in the media now. And I think once you hear, these opening statements and some
Yeah.
tapes you have of Gargiulo, there's no question this guy is a serial killer. I've worked with serial killers for 10 years. I know how they talk, the way they walk, the way they think, and but you can see for yourself.
Okay, cool. Let's play this one.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the methodical and systematic slaughter of women by Michael Gargiulo.
Just want to check. Does he get really graphic?
No,
Okay.
no.
The boy next door killer. That's what this case is about. What you will hear is that Michael Gargiulo, for almost 15 years, was watching. Always watching. And his hobby was plotting the perfect opportunity to attack women with a knife in and around their homes. What you will hear is that Trisha Pacaccio, Ashley Ellerman, Michelle Murphy, and Maria Bruno were all young, attractive, and outgoing. What these women also had in common was they all lived near Gargiulo. He had targeted them for murder, and he ultimately attacked all of them with a knife. From the outset, you will hear that Gargiulo was a neighborhood kid who grew up in suburban Chicago. He was an athlete and played on the high school football team. He later worked as an air conditioning repairman and eventually owned his own plumbing business. And he was a husband and a father. What no one knew for many years, however, was that Michael Gargiulo was leading a double life. Gargiulo, who fancied himself as an expert in forensic science, attacked 4 women with a knife, killing 3 of them, and then was able to escape detection for almost 15 years. pre-plan the attacks. The evidence will show that Gargiulo's plan to kill was to first identify a target who lived near him, acquaint himself with that victim and her habits and routines, and then watch, shadow, stalk, and hunt down the victims relentlessly as part of his plan to kill. He watched and waited and collected real-time intelligence on the victims, and then manipulated the circumstances to provide himself with the perfect opportunity to pounce and kill in blitz-type knife attacks, and then escape detection. You'll hear that Gargiulo's killing spree ended in 2008 when he accidentally cut himself during one of the attacks and bled all over the victim's bedspread and sheet. You will hear that Gargiulo's killing spree started in Chicago in the summer of 1993, almost 26 years ago, when Gargiulo killed his first victim, his neighbor, then 18-year-old Tricia Pacaccio.
I want to stop for a second. So they knew at that point that he killed Tricia.
Yes. So after Ashley Ellerin, it was LAPD had contacted Chicago. So they actually found out even before Maria Bruno's murder that he was connected to Tricia Pacaccio. The reason they never prosecuted was because of, touch DNA being in its infancy, back then. They had tested it. It was 2001 and found the DNA under Tricia's fingerprints, right? They didn't prosecute. And that's when the LAPD called up Tricia's parents and told her, listen, we have a girl, Ashley Ellerin, here who was stabbed to death. That's how Tricia's parents actually found out about it. But so he was never brought to charges. Even though Ashley and Tricia were already connected, he was still walking the streets. And then, it was a fatal mistake because Maria Bruno was tragically killed, mother of four, and Michelle was brutally attacked and has never recovered emotionally.
So even before he was charged with Tricia's murder, they're talking about it in this trial.
Yes. And there is a state law in California where they're actually able to bring in other states, even if he's not convicted or tried for it in another state. But it's a specialized law that it doesn't run in every state, but it does in California, where they are able to bring this into account of saying, okay, he might not have been charged for it in Illinois, but it plays into effect for this trial in California. And because California has this law and this rule, it was able to be brought into court by the prosecutor.
Wow, that's interesting. When was that law passed? I don't know. It was probably a while ago.
Yeah. Not every state has it, but California is one.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Tricia lived in Glenview, Illinois, which is an affluent village about 20 miles from Chicago. She lived around the corner from Gargiulo, who was also a friend of her brother. Tricia was young, attractive, outgoing, and popular among her classmates. On Friday, the 13th of August in 1993, it was hot and muggy in Glenview, and a thick fog had settled over the area. Tricia had spent the evening with a group of friends playing a road rally game and ending her evening at TGI Fridays, a local restaurant. It was a festive gathering. Tricia and her friends had all just graduated from Glenview South High School, and they were bidding each other a final farewell before heading off in different directions to college. Trisha was bound for Purdue University in Indiana, where she had earned an engineering scholarship. Trisha's evening ended with hugs and kisses with her friends. To Trisha, it was the summer of her life and the end of a perfect evening with friends. What Trisha didn't know was that Gargiulo...
Is that your phone?
That was Charles Ng. Yeah.
Charles Ng is texting you while we're doing this.
It's like, yeah, tapping in over Gargiulo. Sorry. They hated each other, by the way.
And had grown up in the Boccaccio's neighborhood, had targeted Trisha for murder. Trisha would never make it to college, and the summer of 1993 would be her last. On the night Trisha was killed, she gave several friends a ride home after leaving TGI Fridays. She dropped off her last passenger at about 1 a.m. and then drove the few minutes to her home. Trisha parked her car and walked up to the side of the house, key in hand, but she never made it inside. The evidence will show that Gargiulo was waiting for her with the knife. Gargiulo, who was athletic and had trained in martial arts and boxing, grabbed Trisha, who was very petite, snapped her arm, and stabbed her repeatedly in the left breast, arm, and chest. Gargiulo left her bleeding to death on the doorstep of the family home and fled. Trisha's father, Rick, discovered Trisha's body the next morning. Years later, Gargiulo bragged to friends about killing Trisha. He told friends, quote, "I left the bitch on the step for dead," end quote. Eventually,
Has he ever told you about that story?
Okay, so he told the inmates on death row the same story. I left the bitch for dead, like verbatim, same thing he told our inmates. And then when he had just learned he was getting extradited, right? So he was talking about Trish a lot on the yard, but then with a certain group of guys. But then he started saying, and they kept saying to him, they were like, well, you already had the death penalty in California. You're going back for one murder. And he kept saying to them, it's not just Trish. I'm worried about the other two they might connect me with. That's how they learned about the two before Trish. He was like, if I go back there, what if they start investigating Trish more and they find these other two that are back in Illinois?
Yeah.
And that's when he also told them, and then I got the 7 on route. And then that's when I heard the PSA by the sheriff's department, where apparently they already had this information that there are 7 en route from Illinois to LA.
So they already knew.
Yeah. The Los Angeles Sheriff's Department already knew about the 7 en route. And then, so when the death row inmates told me that, the 7 en route plus the 2 before Trish, I'm like, this is no bullshit. This is, Gargiulo has really done this. You know, they already know about 7 en route, but there's 2 out there that he's already worried about. And that's why he's worried about going back there and facing a trial, is these other 2 might be connected to him.
Yeah.
They were saying the same thing to the death row inmates. He's like, I left that bitch bleeding.
That's horrible.
Same verbiage he uses, like the witnesses have come forward and said, was the same exact verbiage that the death row inmates had said to me, which I looked at. I was like, it's the same verbiage. It's Gargiulo's verbiage, because I know Gargiulo. I've spoken to Gargiulo.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds identical.
And what was his problem? Did he ever say what his problem with women was?
I'm gonna wait until after tape 2.
Okay. All right.
It has some stuff in it.
I'm always
I know
asking.
you're always like, wait, I want to go ahead. But yeah, no, wait till tape 2. There's some stuff in tape 2.
On Trisha's fingernails. As detectives worked to solve the case, Gargiulo moved across the country to Hollywood, California, and he took up residence near Ashley Ellerin, his second victim. Ashley Ellerin led a glamorous life. A beautiful 22-year-old fashion student, she socialized with a young Hollywood crowd. Ashley was very social and outgoing, and soon attracted Gargiulo's attention. Gargiulo, who lived within a short distance from Ashley's house and frequented the dog park across from her house, injected himself into Ashley's life. He initially approached Ashley and friends and offered to change a tire for them. Eventually, he gained access to Ashley's home by offering to fix the furnace in the basement. Then he began showing up at Ashley's house unannounced and uninvited. On one occasion, one of Ashley's friends saw Gargiulo staring into Ashley's house at odd hours, surveilling her home. Shortly before Ashley was killed, Gargiulo crashed a party at Ashley's house and fixated on her, which drew the attention of Ashley's friends. They wondered who he was, why he was there, and why he was fixated on Ashley. You will hear that on one occasion, Gargiulo, who somehow obtained a key to the house, let himself in, uninvited, and scared Ashley and her friend. Gargiulo then ran away. You will hear that Gargiulo's actions were so disturbing to Ashley's friends that Ashley's roommate concluded that Gargiulo was stalking Ashley, and she should be concerned. On one occasion, Gargiulo appeared at the house unannounced and looking for Ashley. Her roommate answered the door and told Gargiulo that she was not at home. During the ensuing conversation, Gargiulo told the roommate that the FBI was after him for a murder they said he committed in Chicago. During their conversation, Gargiulo showed the roommate a knife he had concealed in a sheath on his ankle. On February 21st, 2001, within weeks of Gargiulo fixating on Ashley, entering her home without permission, surveilling her home at odd hours, flashing a knife, Ashley Ellerin was found stabbed to death in the hallway just outside her bathroom. Ashley had been stabbed over 47 times. The evidence will show that Gargiulo attacked Ashley from behind, cutting her throat from right to left.
All right. We don't need to hear those details. It's gruesome enough. That what I thought was bizarre is him revealing that he's being chased by the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
What's that story?
And he said that to the guys at the Rainbow Room he worked with as well. I don't know if this was like a story to make him seem like he was bigger than life, which is typical Gargiulo.
Well, he's also leading people. I mean, he's letting people know that he killed people in Illinois.
I mean, it's almost bragging. I mean, it is. It's bragging of like, getting that thrill of saying, yeah, I might have a murder in another state.
Yeah. Is that like an icebreaker? I mean, it's like so bizarre.
It's very bizarre. Yeah.
It's almost like he can't control himself by admitting to it.
And I noticed that with my interviews with him too. It's like he won't say it, but he'll say it. Going through the interview tapes just recently for the podcast.
Well, he just said it there. I mean, just,
But even like tapes I just heard a couple tapes. There's a couple I'm waiting until we build up kind of like the backstory first.
Mhm.
But I just listened to one today where he's talking about, well, I like to take blood and from a knife and, do my ritual with it.
Oh, yeah.
He's saying like, he's alluding like it's his own blood and it's something like his own ritual he does, energy or whatever. But it's like, it makes you pause and go, wait a minute. Okay. Are you talking about taking blood from a knife? It's kind of that, he's always alluding to something where he's saying it, but he's not saying it. And this is giving him a sexual thrill.
Yeah.
This is what it is. He's getting a sexual thrill of saying it to people. And where the person is like, but, he's saying it without saying it. So, and that's still giving him, gratification.
Yeah. He's controlling the situation.
Exactly.
Because he's trying to shock these people to see how they're going to react.
Exactly. And this is what sadists do. This is just typical of a sexual sadist. They love to throw that shock factor out just to watch people's reactions.
It's bizarre. Completely another bizarre. Okay, so which one do we want to play next?
His tape, number 2.
Number 2, that's the one on frame, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to play that.
This is my interview with him.
Okay. All right.
I was 30 years old, and it can be anything, right? You said heartbreak, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be with a boy or a girl, right? Actually, my girlfriend got shot in the face. What? And died on the pole. Wait, what? I didn't know. Yeah, my fiance, rest in peace. They tried to charge me in that case, too, and then they came back in to apologize. Oh my God, you heard her die on the phone? That was my fiance. Oh my God. And I got her a blue diamond. I got her a blue diamond, and her mother used to be. First of all, I got electrocuted in my right hand. I was working for a place. I got like $15,000 before it. They were teaching us how to do like some shit. Even though I'm an electrician, they were doing stuff over the video, but it was different types of stuff like that. But the idiot told me that the duct tape was okay to touch, and I tried to tell him I'm an electrician. No, it's not. It got metal, so I went to go touch it, and I got shocked in my right hand. I was going to physical therapy, and the physical therapist, she had 2 kids. Somehow she kept flirting with me and said, oh, you're a boxer and you're going to the Olympics. I know you are. And I said, no, I got hit by a car, earlier. So she's like, I know who you are. She was flirting with me and trying to kiss me and stuff. The first day I met her. And the receptionist was like, whoa, I'm not a slut.
All right, what is he talking about here? It's kind of a little confusing.
Okay, so he's saying, I had asked him at like a heartbreak, and first he said it was age 30. This is going to come into effect as he continues. And then he says it was after a car accident, and he was doing an electrician job, and his right hand, this is also important, his right hand got shocked. So he had to go to physical therapy for it. If you listen to the tapes, with the prosecutor, they've all said, the attacker for all these girls was left-handed.
Mm-hmm.
Gargiulo is left-handed, but now he's saying I had to go to physical therapy for my right hand. So his right hand was actually immobilized, during most of these crimes.
Mm-hmm.
When he says the car accident, so that car accident we know happened after Ashley Ellerin. So right before Maria Bruno and Michelle,
Mm-hmm.
supposedly he was hit by a car, or a girl was walking a dog. Yeah, that's what it was. There was some type of accident where he said he was going to sue her, and he scared this dog walker, like really scared her.
Is this stuff verifiable, or is it?
There was actual police reports of this thing.
Okay.
We know, that's why I'm about to say, he says the age 30, and then he's going to backtrack and say he's 24, 26, but Ashley Ellerin was killed in 2001. That car crash with the dog, that was afterwards. So he was 29, 30 when he's talking about this girl he met, this fiance that died,
Mm-hmm.
that got shot in the face. Amazing. All these women keep dying around him.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it's such a coincidence. But, this plays into effect because he was 29, 30. What he's about to reveal is this girl was underage. He was preying on this girl underage, but he's talking about his right hand doing an electrician job, and he went to a physical therapist. And the physical therapist,
Okay, now it makes sense. That's all.
yeah. And he's saying, oh, she tried to kiss me and everything. He just goes off topic.
I know. Well, he's got to.
So I work 4 times a week so I could get my energy back in my hand. And she says, I was 24-ish, around 24, 26. Her friend used to beat the daughter up because she was married to this guy in Nicaragua, and she was also married to her ex-husband she had the daughter. So Amy had stepsisters. Her name was Rosara, Amy Bonet. And to make things short, she introduced me to her, and I was more like a father to her, like a role model. And when she turned 18, she just started, we hung out every single day. And I told her I needed to work, but we were engaged at 18. When she was 18, I was 26. It's a little young. I mean, I didn't mess with her until she was 18. I don't mess with her, and it just didn't seem right. But we spent so much time together. She was 19 when she died. That's when we got engaged, actually. She was 19 and I was 26. So I knew her for 3 years, and she got heavily into meth. I never did meth. I don't do drugs. And I always want to stay fit. I always like to feel good. I always like to work out. And I bought her a blue diamond. Amy had so much charisma. Everywhere she went, she got everything free. She was friends with Aaliyah, the famous singer that had that plane crash and died. And she went to school with her. And she went to Burbank High. She didn't finish high school. She got out because her mother would always beat her up and kick her out of the house because she would flirt with other kids that she was married to with the guy in Nicaragua, another guy that she was married to, and she would treat Amy like trash because she didn't like her father, her ex-husband. So I started going to sleep over with Amy because she would have bumps and bruises on her. I'd sleep over at the house and I'd hide under the covers. And one day her mom went to go kick her and kick her out. I grabbed her mom and flipped her. I had so much strength because I was a fighter, I grabbed her by the ankle, both ankles, and flipped her. She's like 200 and something pounds. I flipped her on her back onto the bed. And I said, no mas. No mas. Meaning no more in Spanish, right? And she's like, whoa. And I got on her, and I had my hand on her shirt and was shaking her, like, no mas, no mas. Like, don't hit her anymore. And so I told Amy, don't worry, come stay with me. Well, and finish. She only had one more year left, so she could have did overtime and get back into the big high, got her education, and got a graduation. I wanted her to do good. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. She was just so awesome. Like I said, everywhere she went, she wore the most expensive sandals because people would give them to her right at the counter. Just everywhere we went, she was beautiful, Hispanic, big brown eyes. And you have 60 seconds remaining. Oh gosh. Well, regardless, she was my fiance. We got in an argument one day. She took off my van. I went to go get her door for her because I always get a girl's car door for her.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, okay, this girl's name again?
Anna, he said.
Anna. So we don't know her last name.
Amy Anna. He states it, but who knows if it's really real. With Gargiulo, but so basically, he's
The whole Aaliyah thing. You know that she said she was friends with Aaliyah, the one that that died in the plane crash. You know.
I mean, that's a perfect scapegoat. Mention somebody who's died. There's no way to even prove that, whether or not she was or not. But what I took from this tape is, okay, so you were preying upon a high school girl. You hooked up with an underage girl, first of all. Second of all, you attacked her mother in the middle of the night. You grabbed her by the ankles and flipped her mother twice.
Mm-hmm.
Right on tape. In other tapes, he says, I've never touched a female. I would never touch a female. Here he is saying he flipped this girl's mother in the middle of the night twice. Showing that he uses karate moves on a female already. Doesn't matter if that mother really was hitting her daughter. I'm sorry, but Rob, come on. If you saw somebody hitting somebody like a female, what would you do? You would maybe restrain them. Are you going to take them by their ankles and flip them twice?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a big bag of bullshit.
It's all bullshit.
You know, it to me, when someone gives you like those many details,
right?
You know, because who can remember all that? Most people say, well, I did this and then that happened. I can't remember why I did this. I think I did that. I mean, he's got it like it's like a script.
Yeah.
Which is everything he's talking about. So it's really kind of hard to tell, you know, there's probably one piece of fact in that entire thing.
He says blue diamond. I bought her a blue diamond 5 times in that recording. Because maybe he probably did, but that's the one good thing he's ever done for her. So he states that 5.
But we don't even know if this woman exists.
I bet she does exist.
You think so?
Oh yeah, because he even says in the beginning, he goes, they even looked at her as a victim of mine. Because remember, she was shot in the face.
Oh.
Actually, she probably should be looked at more.
Exactly. That doesn't make it. Do we? Yeah.
There is a part 2 to this tape, and I know it's kind of a tease, but
okay.
After the second part, I almost was like, did I really hear that? Like, I didn't believe what I had heard, and I actually had to go back and listen to it. And I don't know if I should leave it there as like a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But he talks about like being on the phone while she died, right? Hearing her die, like hearing his fiance that he loved.
Oh, yeah. As he said in the beginning, yeah.
In the next part of the audio, he talks about seeing the light go out in her eyes.
Yeah, so he's up close and personal.
And I was like, wait a minute, I thought you were on the phone. Why are you talking about the light going out? Seeing the light in her eyes go out.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is the thing. Yeah. All the females around him die.
Wow.
But Ashton Kutcher is the...
Yeah, I mean, you know that. I mean, you can...
Right.
I mean, listen, Ashton Kutcher, I mean, seems like he's just guilty of really bad timing.
Really bad timing.
With this and with Diddy. I mean, it's like he's
Right.
in the wrong place at the wrong time all the time.
Really. Yeah.
But okay, so what's this next one?
So this is the DA just going on and talking about Maria Bruno. And
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And so it's the second part of the statement. Is this
Mhm.
tape 3?
Tape 3, yeah.
Okay.
Bruno was 32 years old and Gargiulo's third victim. The evidence will show that on December 1st, 2005, Gargiulo entered Maria's apartment through a window, put on blue surgical booties, and mutilated Maria with a knife as she slept. The evidence will show that Gargiulo slashed and stabbed Maria multiple times and gashed out her throat. He cut off her breasts.
Oh, hold on.
Attempted.
All right. So how do I need to fast forward that a little bit?
Just like a couple seconds. He doesn't get too. He does state what happened, but
Okay.
graphic.
All right. Let's see.
Again, the evidence will show that Gargiulo's attack on Maria shared numerous common features with his attacks on Trisha Pacaccio, Ashley Ellerin, and Michelle Murphy. Again, defendant Gargiulo lived near the victim, this time in the very same apartment complex where he could see directly into her apartment from his own living room. Again, his attention was drawn to the victim, a young, attractive, outgoing woman. Again, Gargiulo attempted to inject himself into the victim's life. Again, defendant Gargiulo surveilled the victim in her home. In fact, the evidence will show that a witness saw a person matching Gargiulo's description staring at Ms. Bruno's apartment in the days leading up to her murder, watching her as she moved around inside, and at one point, trying her doorknob. You will also hear that only a few days before Maria was killed, a man matching Gargiulo's description trailed Mrs. Bruno into her apartment uninvited. You will also hear that again, like the Trisha Pacaccio killing 12 years prior, Gargiulo left his DNA at the crime scene. After Maria's husband discovered her body and called police, detectives located a blue surgical booty right outside of Maria's front door. Forensic analysis of that booty showed that there were drops of Maria's blood on the booty, and Gargiulo's DNA was around the elastic band on the booty. Years later, a matching booty was found in Gargiulo's apartment attic. While that case was under investigation, Gargiulo moved to Santa Monica and took up residence in an apartment across the alley from 27-year-old Michelle Murphy, another young, attractive, and outgoing woman. Again, Gargiulo lived near the victim, this time in the apartment directly across the alley, where he was able to see into Michelle's apartment and watch her movements. What you will hear is that on April 29th, 2008, at approximately 11 o'clock p.m., Michelle Murphy went to sleep in her apartment. Her roommate was out of the country, so she was home alone. It was also a warm evening in Santa Monica, so she left the second floor window open to let the breeze in. That's all the opportunity Gargiulo needed. The evidence will show that Gargiulo climbed onto a railing and onto a ledge below Michelle's living room window. He sliced through the screen with a knife and climbed through the window. He went into the darkened apartment where he found Michelle sleeping in her bed. Gargiulo leaned over her and stabbed her in the chest with a knife. Michelle woke up and fought with Gargiulo as he stabbed her repeatedly, slashing her to get her legs underneath of her. And she was able to kick Gargiulo, causing him to cut his own wrist with the knife. Bleeding profusely, he ran out the door and yelled, "I'm sorry," as he left a blood trail across the alley and past his apartment. Later DNA analysis showed that Gargiulo's blood was on Michelle's bedspread and sheet, mixed with Michelle's blood. Again, defendant Gargiulo left his DNA at the crime scene. When Gargiulo's DNA was found on Michelle's bedspread and sheet, it linked him with the DNA found on Tricia Pacacio's fingernails and on the bloody surgical booty found in front of Maria Bruno's apartment. Gargiulo was arrested in June of 2008. You will also hear that when Mr. Gargiulo was being held in the El Monte jail, he made makeshift handcuff keys out of plastic and planned to attack the jailer, break out of the jail, steal a police car, and flee to Mexico.
Wow, that's an elaborate plan.
The reason I kept that in there is because you're about to hear some tapes coming up of Gargiulo had a plan to escape San Quentin's death row.
Wow.
And it was the first time in 10 years I had to get prison officials involved.
So while you were talking to him, he was making a plan?
Oh, yeah. And I could see it from a mile away. Yeah. And he went to, quote unquote, the cheeseburger guy at San Quentin asking for lockpicks, who came to me and said, Gargiulo is asking for lockpicks and a waterproof watch.
Why would the guy give him lockpick? Why would he ask him for lockpicks?
I mean, he was just asking around inmates.
Oh, so he was just asking anybody.
He just didn't know, like, these guys are my informants coming to me too. So I got the information first.
So those two things, and that's you had to let the prison officials know?
Well, it wasn't just that. He was saying things to me on the phone too.
Like what? What was he telling you?
It made me think he was going to take a hostage, use the lockpick with the. I was trying to figure out exactly his plan with the watch, the lockpick, and a hostage. But it was concerning enough that we had to get prison officials involved. And that's actually how the DA from Illinois got involved too.
Got it. How long were you talking to him before you discovered this?
Not that long.
So early on in your conversations?
I would say probably not like early on, but probably about 4 months before I came out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had gotten wind of like, at first I was like, no, I'm just tripping. He wants a lockpick.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was the watch. And then, the hostage situation, there was just too many tall tale signs. And yeah, I was like, okay, it's time to ring the bell type of deal.
What did you say to them? What did you tell them?
Pretty much everything. I mean, he wants a lockpick, a waterproof watch that can tell climate control, this and that, like a very specialized watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's what he's saying about this and that, which makes me think there could be a hostage situation, which is what he was planning in county, which the DA was just talking about too. It's almost like he recycled the plan from county for
Mm-hmm.
and just like, tried to, I don't know, just make it San Quentin type. And then I actually got even more worried when he called me and said, Newsom signed the extradition. Because I was like, oh my God, if they put him out, in a bus or van, whatever, could he try something, en route, which is the easiest time for an offender to escape. So yeah, there was many alarm bells going off. So we had to call prison officials in, and that's when the DA in Chicago actually got involved. But it's, Gargiulo's, this is the tip of the iceberg with Gargiulo, truly.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So what was their reaction when you told them?
They were concerned. This has been his past. He had tried to escape from county many of times, doing the same type of tricks.
Mm-hmm.
So they took it very seriously. Yeah, especially now that he was going back to Illinois too for another murder charge. I mean, what did this guy have to lose?
Yeah. Did they suspend any privileges to him, or do you have any privileges in death row?
Because they wanted us to get more information from him.
I'll say that they let you keep on talking to him.
Yes. If we put him in the hole or isolation, that would have, restricted my time,
Access.
the inmates' access to him. So that's why they didn't do any suspension or put him in the hole, because they were getting so much information from us just talking to him on the phones. Everything's recorded.
Yeah.
They were getting gold.
So they didn't know until you pointed it out to them what they were what he was telling you?
No, which was even more surprising. But it also was a year before the whole thing with who with carbon monoxide. I mean, that took them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is fairly recent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like within the last year.
Yeah, within the last year, right before you and Cindy came to San Quentin, this was happening.
That's when it was happening?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally.
So we got it there in February. So it was probably around, was it like
right before that? Yeah.
like January?
Yeah. There's
Wow.
a lot going on when you guys came up there.
There was a lot.
I mean, Gargiulo's planning on escaping. Charles Ng's planning on killing.
I know, trying to, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I even said to like the death row inmates, I'm like, I'm in the final stage of a video game where I have to defeat all the demons at once. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And now all the demons are spread all out over every place.
Now to like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Not over with Gargiulo. I mean, he's yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know. Let me see what this last, how.
These are the 911 tapes for Michelle.
Oh, okay. The boyfriend's 911, that one?
He called first because she had called him before 911. And then it tapped into her. Yeah.
Okay.
911 emergency, Calderon. Hi, my friend in Santa Monica just reported a break-in. She called me, and I want to make sure that she told the police. Okay, what's the location of the emergency? It's 1229 12th Street. 1229 12th Street. Okay. Apartment 10. Okay. Do you have her phone number? It's in my phone. Yeah. Okay. Because I'm gonna have to give her a call because I'm gonna have to speak to her directly. Okay. Let me get out of my phone. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Actually, we already have the call. Hang on for just 1 second. Do you know what the circumstances are in regards to it, or?
attest to this. She told me that she woke up and there was someone on top of her and she forced them off and they ran out. Okay, we are on our way. Thanks for calling, sir. Thank you. Bye.
All right. So so she called somebody right after that?
Yeah, so she called her boyfriend, now husband, and he called saying like she was just attacked. But she was also on the phone with 911. And
Got it. And then what were the extent of her injuries?
she had to have surgery on her hand. I mean, there's pictures of her hand like all sliced up.
Wow.
That's how she survived. She was grabbing the knife.
Mm-hmm.
She was able to kick him off her. But yeah, her hand sustained some serious injuries. And but she was stabbed. I mean, she was stabbed a few times in the chest. She woke up to him on top of her, stabbing her in the chest.
Wow.
It's a miracle she really survived, but she's still, dealing with counseling, according to reports from what she went through.
Oh my God, poor woman. Have you ever spoken to her?
No, I have tracked her down. I do want to find her. She's in the Laguna area with her husband, now husband, who's the boyfriend you just heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to.
Poor woman.
Yeah, she did testify, and I have some
Wow.
tapes of Gargiulo saying that she's lying and she's an extortionist.
Extortionist?
That's what he called her.
It was extorting her, defending herself. She didn't want anything from him.
She testified that she was attacked in the middle of the night. Yeah.
Yeah. What was she extorting from him?
I don't know. This is Gargiulo's world. We're all just living in it.
Oh my God. It's really delusional. Well, I'm so happy that she survived.
Yeah. Maybe we can get her on. I'm hoping.
Yeah. Yeah. I love, I mean, not that we want her to relive that trauma, but she's courageous, fending him off.
I mean, she stood up to him in court.
Exactly. I mean, that's
strong.
I can't even imagine that. You see that in movies and television shows all the time. I don't think people really understand the gravity of something like that.
No, it's like the movie Scream. You wake up and this monster is on top of you, stabbing you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But to have to sit across in a courtroom.
Yeah.
Person.
I woke up with this person on top of me trying to kill me.
The next time you see them is inside a courtroom.
Right.
Well, I would imagine she would have had to identify him before that as well.
Yeah. Well, she's dark, but I mean, his blood was all over her bedroom.
Oh, yeah. So you really didn't have to identify him.
Yeah, literally.
And that was the final.
Yeah.
Third straw that broke the camel's back that they could connect them all to the other murders.
Mm-hmm. And they had no interaction. She remembers like him sitting in a plumbing truck and like him waving to her and her just being like friendly and waving back.
Mm-hmm.
That's the extent of their interaction. And look what it led to.
Yeah. Well, I think women should learn that don't wave at creepy guys. I know a lot of it's just people being nice.
Right.
But sometimes you don't know what you're triggering.
You don't. I mean, that's the same. It's like you think you're just being nice and friendly. And that's why cops will always ask, when they're interviewing, family members or friends, was she extroverted? Was she, friendly? The reason they ask that is because of how these predators think. Yeah.
Well, it's also eye contact too, the engagement. I remember I was working on this one show and we had a live tiger on set. Mm-hmm. And they had to empty the set, and then I went out with the trainer, and the trainer basically before he brought him out, he told the entire crew, he says, I'm going to bring this live tiger on set. He's going to be chained to something, and I'll have control over him. He goes, but the one thing you don't want to do is you do not want to look the tiger in its eyes. Mm-hmm. If you look the tiger in its eyes, you're considered prey. And so maybe that's the predator thing with these killers. They have eye contact, they connect, and that's like, and so I thought that was really interesting.
Well, what's funny is like when I go into prison, and Gargiulo is actually one of them. Like I remember I just stood and stared at Gargiulo, right? Mm-hmm. He would not, face me.
Well, it's different because he's not a predator inside a cage. Mm-hmm. That's different. So, you're seeing him for who he is, a killer. He's already been exposed, but under the, his cloak of darkness there, he's out on the wild. I mean, he can be whatever he wants to be. It's a predator. But,
And I stood there for minutes, like just standing him off, like just arms crossed, staring directly at him, not look up.
Yeah, it probably freaked him out.
Oh, it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I held my gaze for so long. He just would not look up.
Yep.
Because, this guy who's, stabbing girls, coming into their house, going to, coming back from a scavenger hunt, coming out of the shower, sleeping in bed, can't even look up.
Oh, yeah. Because he's a coward.
He's a coward.
He's attacking women, defenseless women.
Vulnerable positions they could be in.
Exactly. Right. It's incredible.
I'm 6'1", could not hold a gaze.
Yeah.
How much of a coward he was.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, this has been cool. This has been interesting stuff, Laura.
Interesting, right?
And Gargiulo, I tell you, there's a lot of bevy of material you've gotten from him and a lot of research. I mean, it's like really, I mean, as far as a subject to study, I mean, he's kind of like a tornado.
Oh, yeah. There's way more to come with him. He's going to talk about how he was on the phone, but saw the light going out in his girlfriend's or fiance's eyes in the next tape.
Yeah.
That's just one of many. His big plan to escape San Quentin's death row is coming. What else? Oh, God. There's more about Trish. There's more about Ashley, Maria, everybody. The Blue.
Wow.
There's so many more tapes with him.
Wow. Okay. All right, well, we'll get to him next week. There's more to talk about.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I'll have to see if we can. Well, I don't know. How long has it been since that woman testified?
Oh, gosh. When was it?
2008, right? 2008?
No, it would have been a little bit, I think 2013. But
13.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's been, so maybe.
Maybe.
All right.
But the Los Angeles LAPD just got back to me that one of the investigators who's worked Gargiulo's case is going to be contacting me. So he might.
Oh, so Louis hooked you up.
Louis hooked me up. Yeah.
Great.
So we might have him come on hopefully soon.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. Well, I'm glad he did that for you. That was nice of him.
And I have a couple emails out to Gargiulo's family. So
interesting.
We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we have to talk about the relationship with his mother.
I do have some tapes on that too.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that's the root of a lot of this stuff, I think.
So too. Yes, for sure.
All right, Laura. Thank you.
All right.
We'll talk to you next week.
Next week. Yeah.